Hi! Within this section, we're going to build our hacking lab because we want to work in a safe environment and we want to do tests as much as we want during this course. So that's why we're going to use something called virtual machines. And don't worry, I will explain what is a virtual machine during the lectures and I'll show you how to install it and use it on your computer. And don't worry again because this is completely free. And after doing that, we will be ready to learn about ethical hacking and do some safe tests in our hacking lab setup. So now if you're ready, let's get started.
Hi! Within this section, we're going to install virtual machines on our host computers. Before we go on and do that, I want to explain what is a virtual machine and why are we using them. So virtual machine actually lets us run some virtual computers on our own computer. So these computers might have different operating systems at once. For example, we are going to work with a Linux distribution called Kali Linux most of the time within this course. And maybe you may think that, okay, I can erase my Mac OS or Windows from my computer and install Kali Linux instead. Yes, you can do that, but that's not the point, because we're not gonna need Kali Linux only within this course. We will also need Windows and Metasploitable and other systems as well. And these virtual machines will allow us to work with them simultaneously within our computer, so we can simulate attacks in a safe environment. Since they are only virtual machines, we can delete them anytime we want, we can refresh them, we can reinstall them anytime we want as well. And also, if we make something wrong and make our operating systems crash, they will be recoverable. We will learn how to get snapshots and get back to them whenever it's needed. And they are completely free since we're going to use VirtualBox in this course. So it's essential for us to work with virtual machines in order to efficiently complete this course. So let's stop here, and within the next lecture we're going to learn how to install them on our own computers. Hi! Within this lecture we're going to install VirtualBox on our computer. Actually, we're going to install the VirtualBox in a Windows computer in this lecture, so if you're a Mac OS user, you can just skip this lecture for next lecture in which we're going to install VirtualBox for Mac. So we're going to install VirtualBox in order to run virtual machines. But remember, VirtualBox is not only way to run virtual machines, but it's the best way for free tools. Okay, so VirtualBox is absolutely free, but there is another way called VMware, but it's not free. So maybe you're currently working on a VMware, so of course you can use VMware in order to run virtual machines in this course. But I'm going to find VirtualBox and show you how to install it. If you Google VirtualBox, you will see that it will lead you virtualbox.org. So it's very easy actually. You can just run virtualbox.org on your browser as well. So you will see the latest version popping up in here, or maybe they can change this layout in time, of course, but there will be always a download link here or there where you can click and go to the downloads page. In the downloads page, you will see that there is a Windows host in here. If you click on it, it will just start downloading, and it's around 200 megabytes right now, so it will take a minute or two to download it. So feel free to pause the video and come back when it's done. So when it's done, open your download folder and find the exe file that you have downloaded and minimize this, but not close it because we're going to download one more thing later on. So if you double click on this exe file for VirtualBox, it will open the installation wizard for you. It's fairly easy to install this software because all you have to do is just click on this next, 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 and say yes and install. It will start installing it for you. Of course, if it asks for an authorization, you should say yes. It will take a minute or two to finish this installation as well, so feel free to pause once more and get back here when it's done. After the installation completes, it will ask you if you want to start the VirtualBox. Say yes, it will just pop open the VirtualBox for you. When it first starts, it may ask you to download the latest version of the extension pack. But I'm going to say cancel because I'm going to show you how to manually download it from the virtualbox.org. So maximize the windows that you have closed in previously and search for extension pack in here. As you can see, there is only one single link. It says all supported platforms. Once you download the VirtualBox and install it on your computer, you can just download this extension pack from any operating systems. And this extension pack will allow us to work efficiently within VirtualBox when we deal with USB devices. Okay? And of course, it has other efficiency improvements as well. So once you download it, you may double click on this extension pack. It will open a window for you. But sometimes there can be bugs and these windows may not open. So I'm going to show you how to easily manually install this. So I'm going to say cancel right now. And let me just drag this extension pack to my desktop here so we can easily reach it later on. And I'm going to go to File and to Preferences. Actually, you can find settings in here when you can change, but right now we are interested in extensions. As you can see, there is a pre-installed version for me, so I'm going to say remove. Maybe you have a blank page in here like this. It's good because we're going to install our latest one by clicking this plus sign in here and going to the desktop and searching for our extension pack. It will pop open the same window for me where I will say install. You have to scroll down this license and say I agree in order to install it and say yes. So this will install the extension pack for us, and once it's installed you will see the line in here. Okay, then you can say OK to complete the installation of VirtualBox. Right now we don't have any virtual machines in here and we're going to install them in the following lectures. But before we go on and do that, we have to specify one more settings in our VirtualBox manager. Later on, when we install the virtual machines, we will see the list in here, but for right now, go to the preferences and actually you can set the settings in here like language. If you're not satisfied with English, you can just choose your own language from here. But right now, you have to go to this network section. And in here, you may see a NAT network created for you. So let me remove it from here and show you how to create it from scratch. All you have to do is just hit plus sign in here and it will create a NAT network for you. And we're going to use this NAT network in order to have internet connection from our virtual machines. So our Kali Linux, for example, will have internet connection through our own computer, okay? And they will be connected to our computer as a router. So all virtual machines will be on the same network, and all virtual machines will have the internet connection thanks to this network. It's very important for you to complete this step in order to continue our course. Once you do that, you can just hit OK and go to the next lecture. And if you're not a Mac OS user, you can skip the next lecture where we install the next virtual machines on our computer. So let's stop here and see you in the next lecture. Hi! Within this lecture, we're going to install the VirtualBox on our Mac OS computer. So if you're using Windows, and in the previous lecture, if you installed the VirtualBox on your machine, you may skip this lecture. So we're going to use the VirtualBox in order to run virtual machines. Actually, VirtualBox is not only way to run virtual machines, but it's the best way if you want a free tool. So if you're using a VMware, for instance, in your own computers, you may continue to use it, and you may install the VM versions of the virtual machines that we're going to install in the following lectures. But if you're not using any paid tools, you're more than welcome to use this free tool by following this lecture. So open a browser and go to google.com, where you will Google VirtualBox, okay? It will lead you a website called virtualbox.org. So if you click on it, it will lead you virtualbox.org, where you will find the latest version of the VirtualBox. So they may change this outline in time, of course, but there will be always a download section from here or here where you can click and go to the download page of VirtualBox. In here you will see that VirtualBox platform packages have an OS X hosts. So click on this OS X and it will start downloading for you. And it's around 200 megabytes right now, so it will take a minute or two, so feel free to pause the video, and once it's finished, come back and see how it's installed. After your download is done, you may just go to your downloads or wherever you saved it, okay? So let me minimize this. I'm not going to close this because we're going to download one more thing later on. So I'm going to go to my downloads and find the VirtualBox file that I have downloaded. So if I double click on it, it will pop open the VirtualBox installation setup for me. So once it's opened, it's fairly easy to install this. All we have to do is just follow the guidelines, okay? So it will ask you to double click on this package, okay? And once it's done, it will open the installation wizard for you. When you see this picture in here, you may click continue and just hit continue and install. It will ask you for your password or fingerprint. Just supply this and it will finish the installation part for you. So it will be quick, and once it's done, you may say close. And after that, you can go to your applications folder from here and search for VirtualBox. Of course, there's another way to do that. Let me close this and show you how it's done. Right now, we don't need this file, so I'm going to say move to trash, and I'm going to say eject VirtualBox from here. If I hit Command and space on my keyboard, it will open the search for me, where I can search for VirtualBox and hit enter. When you do that, it will pop open the VirtualBox for you. Most probably you won't see this list in here because I have existing virtual machines. So you will see a blank left pane in here. When you're going to install the virtual machines later on, it will be filled up in here as a list for you as well. So don't worry about that. But you have to do some settings before you go on and use this VirtualBox. So whether you go here to VirtualBox Preferences, or you can just click on Preferences from here to access the settings. We are first interested in the extensions. So I have an old one in here. I'm going to delete it, okay, by clicking on this remove line from here, and it's going to ask me for my password. I'm going to give it. So most probably you will have a blank page in here as well, but maybe you may have an old version here as well. So all you have to do is just click on remove selected package from here and delete it, because we're going to install the latest version, latest extension version. So if you go to virtualbox.org one more time, you will see an extension pack download section in here. You may click on this all supported platforms link and it will download it for you. So it's less than 20 megabytes, so it's going to be rather quick. Once it's downloaded, you may go to your downloads one more time from here or your own finder and double click on this extension pack. So it should ask you something like this, but sometimes it doesn't pop up. So I'm going to show you how to manually install this, okay? So let me say I disagree, and if it doesn't show you like it's supposed to be, you can click on this add new package from here, and remember we got this from preferences and extensions. If you click on this, you may select the extension pack that you have downloaded before, and now it's going to pop up for you. All you have to do is just click on this install and say I agree. So it's going to ask you for your password one more time, give it, and it's going to install it for you, and you will see the latest version installed in here. So right now you can click on OK, and now you are ready to use the VirtualBox Manager. But before we go on and install our virtual machines, there is one more thing that we have to specify in our settings. So I'm going to go to my preferences one more time, and here actually we have some settings like language. So if you're not satisfied with English, you can change it like I said before, but I'm going to go to network this time. So in here I have previously created networks, and you may have some of them as well, but I'm going to delete them from here, okay? I'm going to say remove, and as I had done in the extensions part, I'm going to click on this plus sign, add new network, in order to create my network. So what does it do? It allows us to connect to the internet through our own host computer. So we're going to use some virtual machines like Kali Linux, and this Kali Linux won't have any internet connection unless we give it to it. So we're going to use this network in order to connect to the internet, and we're going to use this network in order to make our all virtual machines on the same network as well. So it will give us an opportunity to simulate some attacks on a real network. So it is important for you to complete this step in order to complete this course. So once you do that, click on OK. Now you're ready to go to the next lecture where we will download some virtual machines and start them on our own computers. Hi! Within this lecture, we're going to learn how to install Kali Linux as a virtual machine using VirtualBox on our computers. So I'm going to tell the rest of the course from Mac because right now from this point on it will be the exact same points whether you have Mac or Windows. It really doesn't matter. And don't worry about these virtual machines in here. Of course, you don't have them in your machine right now. Since this is my main computer, I have them, and you will have them when you complete this lecture and the following lecture later on. So, next step would be for us to download Kali Linux from internet and install it on our VirtualBox. In order to do that, open a browser. I'm going to open Safari from Mac. You can open whatever you want from Windows as well. All you have to do is just Google download Kali Linux VirtualBox. Okay, download Kali Linux VirtualBox and hit enter. It will take you to a website called offensivesecurity.com. If you click on it, it will take you through the Offensive Security download page. So Kali Linux is a distribution of a Linux operating system, and it contains penetration testing, ethical hacking tools inside. So this will be a complete operating system where we conduct our penetration system tests, and when we do all the attacks, when we simulate all the attacks inside within. So Kali Linux is brought by Offensive Security. So we are going to download it from offensivesecurity.com. So if you scroll down, you will see VMware images and VirtualBox images. And as you might guess, we are now interested with VirtualBox images. By the way, this look of this website may change in time, but it doesn't matter. All you have to do is just go to the download section, download page, and look for VirtualBox images. So within here, we have two options, whether 64-bit or 32-bit. It depends on your own host machine. So if you're on a 30-bit computer, you may download this one. And you are on a 64 computer, you have to download this one. So if you're using torrent on your own computer, you may choose to download it via torrent, but you may just click on this and it will just start to download it for you. It will download an OVA file. Okay, the extension is OVA, and this is 4 gigabytes. In order not to make you wait, I have already downloaded it before because it may take like 30-40 minutes depending on your internet connection. So I'm going to stop this and I'm going to use the one that I have downloaded before. And remember, you have to find the VirtualBox images, not the VMware images. Of course, if you're using VMware for some reason, then you might want to download VMware image as well. So I'm going to close this and I'm going to open my VirtualBox. So where I have downloaded mine in downloads folder. So this is the one that I have cancelled. So let me move this to trash, and it is inside my virtual machines folder. So choose a place for your download because you may not want to change this later on. So choose your place carefully, place it under downloads, place it under documents, because if you move them later on, it will be problematic for you because you will have to just do some extra settings in order to make this properly work. Okay, so choose a place right now, and then there are two options to install this. First, you may want to go to the downloaded file, okay, where you placed it, and double click on this OVA file. If you double click on this, it will pop open this window for you. But again, sometimes it doesn't pop up. So I'm going to show you how to manually do that, okay? You have to go to your settings. In Windows, you can see it in here saying import. In Mac, you can go to the menu from file and say import appliance. And you can say import appliance from Windows menu as well. So we are trying to import the device that we have downloaded. All we have to do is just select that OVA file from this folder here. So click on this and find the downloaded file, okay, and select it, and then you may say continue. Once you do that, it will give you some default values in here. Don't worry, we can change them later on. So I'm going to say import, and it will try to install and import everything for me. It will take a couple of minutes, so feel free to pause the video and come back after it's done. Once it's installed, it will add it to the list. So this is the one that I have currently installed. Okay, if you click on this, if you go to settings from here, you may access the settings of the virtual machine. Now we are not in the settings, we are not in the preferences of VirtualBox. We are inside the settings of this Kali Linux machine, okay? So let me tell you what we can change. As you can see, we can change the name from here, okay? I'm going to just use this default one, and if it's not Linux and Debian 64-bit, you have to choose it. Of course, if you're in a 32-bit machine, and if you have downloaded the 32-bit image, it will look like 32-bit here and it's okay. But if you're on a 64-bit machine, and if it says 32-bit here, then it won't work. You have to choose Linux from here and Debian 64-bit from here. Now sometimes, even though you're on a 64-bit machine, and even though you have downloaded the 64-bit image, it doesn't show up here, even though you choose the list, okay? It doesn't show up on the drop-down list. And the reason for that, you may need to enable virtualization on your computer. So there is something called virtualization technology, and it enables us to run these virtual machines. So sometimes it comes turned off on your system, and it isn't clear for everyone how to turn on, because in every operating system, in every processor, it has some different instructions. Best way to do that is to just get your operating system and processor name, okay? Suppose that you're on an Intel machine, i7, okay? Then you have to go to Google, like this, and say how to enable virtualization in Windows 10 Intel 7, for instance, i7. If you Google it, you will have so many results, you will have so many tutorials telling you how to enable virtualization. I'm not going to show you how to do that because it may need to go to BIOS settings, and you have to turn your computer off and on in order to do that. So I cannot properly record that, but it is fairly easy to do, and all you have to do is just Google this and find out how to enable virtualization. And Most of the time, you won't have to do that, okay? I'm telling you just in case you get any error regarding virtualization, or just in case the 64-bit doesn't pop up in here. So this was the most important setting. Then let's go to the system. And in system, you have to choose what kind of RAM you want to allocate to the virtual machine. As you can see, I have an 8 GB RAM in my computer, and it suggests me to allocate 2 GB of RAM. So you have to optimize this thing, because if you give too low, okay, like this, 4 MB, it won't open. And if you give too much, then there should be nothing left on your own computer, then it won't open again. So I suggest you start something like 1 GB. It's like 1024 megabytes. And Kali Linux actually runs good on 1 GB of RAM. If you have 8 GB, you may choose to give it 2 GB as well. But if you have less, like 4 GB, you cannot give more than 1. Because later on in this course, within following sections, we're going to use Windows and Kali Linux at the same time. So I'm going to leave this in 1 GB. Later on, let's go to the display where we can see the video memory, and it's better to leave this as suggested, as default value, okay? If you go to storage, you can see the OVA file that you have imported from here. If you go to network, then here you have to choose the network that you created previously. As you can see now, this is attached to NAT. I have to select NAT network, and from here I have to select that NAT network that I have created before. Later on in this course, we will see the other options like bridge adapter. We will use this bridged adapter when we use USB Wi-Fi cards within our systems. But for right now, I'm going to choose NAT network. From here, you may want to add some USB devices to your Kali Linux machine, and we are going to do that later on in this course as well. When we deal with USB Wi-Fi cards, we're going to use this USB section. But before you go and start the Kali Linux, make sure you select NAT network, make sure you just adjust this RAM, and in here in the system tab, there is also something called processor. In here you may choose how many processors you want to allocate to this virtual machine as well. And Kali Linux runs on one CPU efficiently. Kali Linux is actually a very efficient system. So you can click OK after you do these kinds of settings, and you can go here and say start. It will open a new window for you where it will just run the Kali Linux. You have to wait until it's running here. So you may want to minimize this, or you may want to maximize this window as well. It doesn't matter. I suggest you wait until it's opened, then you maximize. And it will take a couple of minutes, especially if it's the first time you're running this. As you can see now, it asks for a username. So let me make this into a full screen so we can see it better. Once you see that screen in here, you have to give root as username. And before we go on, the password in the next section will be tour, okay? The exact opposite of root. So I'm going to give root as username, and I'm going to give tour as password and hit enter. So this will be our default account when we use Kali Linux, and we're going to see how to change the password later on. As you can see, this is now Kali Linux. This is going to be our main operating system when we deal within this course, and we're going to see how to use this Linux, how to use this Kali Linux in the next section. But for right now, you're okay if you manage to run this Kali Linux. You may want to close it down. All you have to do is just click the closing sign in here, and you can say save the machine state. It means that don't turn off. Whenever I click start, just pop this on. You may want to say power off the machine as well. It will just turn off the machine for you, and you may want to go to your virtual machine and hit start to start it again. So if you come to this point, let's stop here, and within the next lecture we're going to do the same thing for Windows. Hi, within this lecture we're going to install Windows as a virtual machine in our host machine using VirtualBox. So maybe right now you're thinking, I'm already using Windows, do I have to install Windows 10 as a virtual machine? Yes, you have to, because we're going to use this virtual as a victim machine. We're going to attack to that victim machine. We're going to perform some attacks, do some backdoors, trojans, man-in-the-middle attacks, and everything that we're going to learn in the following sections. So it's better to have this virtual machine in our own ethical hacking lab, do it in a safe environment. Okay? So right now I'm going to open my browser one more time and go to google.com, because I'm going to search for Windows 10 VirtualBox virtual machine. Okay? If you click enter, it will take you to a website called developer.microsoft.com. So yes, Microsoft actually provides us this opportunity to work with virtual machines of Windows. So if you click on this link, and I will share this link in resources as well, it will ask you to select a virtual machine. So I'm going to select MS Edge Win 10. So I'm going to work with Windows 10, and it really doesn't matter. Some people ask if they can work with Windows 7 or Windows 8. Yes, you can, because we're going to use this as a victim machine. As I said before, it really doesn't matter as long as it's a Windows, in order to make our attacks more realistic. And you're going to have to choose a platform next, and our platform, as you know, is the VirtualBox. If you're using VMware for any reason, you can choose it to do so from here. After you do that, just click on this download zip, and this is again a little bit big, like 4 gigabytes, then it's going to take some time. I'm going to stop this again because I have already downloaded it before. In order not to make you wait, I'm just going to show you how to install it. And again, I'm going to import an appliance from here. You can do it in the Windows machine as well. Just click on here and go to the downloads, or wherever you may want to download it. Okay? And if it's a RAR or zip file, you may want to extract it, okay? Because we need the OVA file, not the .zip file. You may use WinZip or WinRAR in order to extract it. Later on, double click on this OVA file and hit continue. I'm going to say import again because, as we have seen in the previous lecture, VirtualBox gives us the opportunity to change the settings later on in VirtualBox. So wait until it's imported and come back. Once it's imported, select the newly imported virtual machine from here and click settings. And we're going to do the same settings like in the previous lecture. So you may want to change the name from here, and you have to choose Windows 10 64-bit. Then in the system you have to allocate the RAM one more time, and Windows requires more RAM than Kali Linux, obviously. The default RAM, suggested RAM, is 4 GB for me. But remember, you have to use the Kali Linux and Windows and your own host machine at the same time during this course. So you have to optimize these values one more time. Since I'm using 8 GB of RAM, I'm going to change this to be 2 GB. And Windows requires at least 2 GB, okay? So this will be a little bit hard to run, but it will run. It won't kill me. And in the processor, it may require 2 CPUs, so I'm going to leave it as that. So if you allocate this and you see it's lagging, it's slow, it's very fast, I don't know, then you can just come here, close the virtual machine, and just reallocate these settings from scratch. I'm going to go to display, so this is okay. I'm going to go to network. I'm going to choose the NAT network one more time. And I don't have any more thing to do in here. Oh, without forgetting, you have to select this advanced, and in here you have to go to promiscuous mode and say allow all. This will allow you to simulate network attacks very efficiently later on in the network section. Okay, we didn't do that in the Kali Linux section because I forgot it. Now you can say allow all to the promiscuous mode and say OK. Of course, now I can change this value from Kali Linux, go to Kali Linux and say settings, and go to network and say advanced, and for promiscuous mode say allow all. Later on, now we are ready to test this Windows. So click on start, it will open the Windows for you. And this would be a little laggy compared to the Kali Linux, as it requires more RAM, more CPUs, and this is a very hard operating system to run actually. And this is not efficient as Kali Linux. But we are going to use this Windows as a victim machine, so we are not going to work within Windows very much. So it is imperative for us to run this, but it is enough just to see it running, okay? And after it runs, it will show you a screen like this. And remember, sometimes it takes time for Windows to adjust the settings. So when it's opened, you may want to just take it to the full screen and then go back and then take it to the full screen to make it adjust one more time. So when it's opened, it should ask you a password. But if it's not, it means that it will ask you for a password when you reboot it, when you close it and open it one more time. And you may get the latest password from the Microsoft website that we have downloaded. So let me see if I closed it. Yeah, I closed it. Let me go to history and open this developer.microsoft.com. As you can see, the current password is password with these letters. But you may want to check it from here because in time maybe they can change it. And sometimes in the first run it doesn't ask for a password, but later on it asks. Okay, now it's opened for me and it didn't ask for a password because it was the initial run. Let me try to make this into full screen. As you can see now, it doesn't work in full screen. In order to make it compliant, you may want to right click on here and say display settings, And within the display settings, you can increase the resolution, okay, like to this one, and it would be better, and say keep changes. And later on, when you close this and reopen it again, it would be full screen, maximizing the whole screen, filling in the right and left blanks as well. But it will take for some time for Windows to adjust this. And I generally change the firewall and security settings within Windows as well. So let me show you how to do that. And if you're using Windows, you may know actually how to do that, but you can click on this start here and search for settings, okay, and go to settings, and within the settings you can change anything you want, like language, personalization, like if you want to use it in another language, it's possible. You may want to change it to your native language, you may want to change the background and everything, but don't get too attached to this Windows. As I said before, we're going to use this only as a victim machine. It really doesn't matter for us to actually using this Windows 10 or Windows 7 or Windows 8. And let me go to update and security, not game bar. And within this Windows update and security, I'm going to go to click on this Windows security, and here we have some virus and threat protection, we have some firewall and network protection and everything. When I do tests within my VirtualBox, I generally disable these firewalls. It may sound stupid for you, but it is wiser to disable this and see if your attacks actually work, and then reintroduce this, enable this, and see if they block your actual attack or not. So if you do that, you would know if firewall is blocking, if your attack is working or not. But if you don't do this, if you just leave it open, you wouldn't know if the problem is within your attack, or the firewall is blocking, or the Windows Defender is blocking, or antivirus is blocking. And don't worry, we're going to discuss how to bypass antivirus solutions and everything in our course as ethical hackers. But it is wise to just turn this off when you do tests and then reintroduce it. Maybe if you find that stupid, then you can leave it on as well. It won't affect our attacks very much during this course. But I'm going to go and turn off this firewall anyway, okay? And you may want to just go to security here, and you may want to adjust this virus and threat protection as well. So right now we don't have any antivirus on our Windows, and we don't have any active scan running right now. But you may want to click on here, and you may want to turn this off as well. It wouldn't be too realistic since most of the users use this virus protection, but for test purposes it may be better. I'm just gonna leave this on in order not to raise any suspicion on your minds about this course, because we're going to learn so much useful information throughout the course, and it will work in too many scenarios. I don't want you to think this will work only if this is turned off or something. I'm going to leave this on, but I turned off the firewall. It really doesn't matter, because if there comes a time when if we need to turn the firewall on or turn the virus off, then we're going to do it together later on. So if you have seen this, if you have successfully started Windows, then it's okay for you to close this right now and say power off the machine. So we're going to stop here, and within the next lecture we're going to see some feature of VirtualBox called snapshots, which will give us chance to create save points in our virtual machines. Hi, within this lecture, we're going to learn a feature called snapshots. And these snapshots lets us create save points on our virtual machine. This feature is really cool. So if you break something on your computer, on your virtual machine, then you can go back to your current saving point anytime whenever you want. So let me show you how it works. Let's do it with Kali Linux, okay? If you click on here, these three lines, you can see something called snapshots. If you click on snapshots, it will take you through a pane in which you don't have anything right now. But you can take a snapshot whenever you want. Let me show you what I mean. Let's start this Kali Linux, okay? Let's go to details and say start. And let's create some files. Let's do some tests and then take snapshot and then delete these tests. And then let's take another snapshot and let's see what we can do with each other. So it may take some time to complete these steps, okay? Maybe you don't want to do it with me, but I suggest you do, because later on it will be very good for you to take snapshots and make this a habit of yourself. Because if something goes wrong, you may want to go back to your current snapshot. So let me show you what I mean. We're going to see how to use Kali Linux later on, but for right now, let's just follow me. If you click on here, it will pop open your folders, okay? This is the files, like the File Explorer in Windows or Finder in Mac OS. If you click on Documents, for instance, it will pop open your Documents folder. And if you right-click on here, you may create a new folder called Test, for example. Click on Test. It will just open the test, and this folder is empty as well. So, we didn't do anything fancy. We only created a test folder in Documents, right? So right now, let me just save this, okay? Power off the machine. And logically, now if I rerun this Kali Linux, I can see that folder inside of Documents, right? So let me take a snapshot here, say take. It will ask me for a name. It really doesn't matter, just leave it as snapshot 1. So it took a snapshot of the current picture. So let's run Kali Linux from one more time, okay? And let's see if we're going to find the test folder. And even if we didn't take snapshot, we would have seen the test folder waiting for us in there, right? It isn't really connected with the snapshot. Even if you don't take snapshot, it would still save the current state, and whenever you turn off and turn on your Kali Linux, your files won't be gone. But I'm going to show you what I mean. So if I open the Kali Linux right now, supplying my username as root and password as tour, then if I go to files again and click on this document, now I see the test. And again, it isn't really connected with taking snapshot or not. Even if I didn't take a snapshot, I would still see this test in here. But I took the snapshot, and let's suppose that accidentally I deleted this folder, okay? And somehow I cannot get it back. I crashed something, I broke something, and I cannot undo it. So what do I do? If I go back here, if I close this right now, and if I open it again, I won't see the current test folder in here, right? And let me create a snapshot for this as well. Let me take a snapshot 2. Now the snapshot 2 is the current state. If I run this, I won't see the folder inside of documents. But if I go back to snapshot 1, then the folder won't be deleted. If you click on snapshot 1 and say restore, it will make the snapshot 1 as current state. Now if I say start, and let's go and see if we find the test folder inside documents. Okay, I'm going to give my username and password. It will open it for me. And if I go to my files from the left pane as it starts, then if I double click on documents, now I see the test, even though I deleted it accidentally, supposedly. Now I managed to get it back. So as you can see, it says snapshot 1. Now I can continue my life with test folder from snapshot 1. I can delete the snapshot 2. And in order to confirm this is all working for us, let me power off this machine. And let me go back to snapshot 2 and say restore. And say restore one more time. And asks us to create a snapshot 3 because we changed the snapshot 1. And we didn't take anything, we didn't save anything, we just turned it down, and we want to go back to snapshot 2. It says that it's better for you to create a snapshot 3 in case you're doing something wrong. But it doesn't matter, what matters is the snapshot 2 is the current state right now. So I can go to details and say start, and it will just open this Kali Linux in state 2. Okay, if I go to heading, I can see that it's snapshot 2. So let's wait until it starts. And I'm going to give you my username and password as usual. And for the last time, I'm going to check to see if test folder is there or not. Let me click on here and double click on the documents. As you can see, folder is empty and the test folder is deleted because we are in snapshot 2. I hope you understood the logic behind this. So we can use this in order to avoid any errors. If we get a crash, we can go back, we can use this as a save point. And also, for example, Windows has some kind of protection, some kind of brand protection. It allows you to run this for 30 or 60 days as a virtual machine. So what we can do, we can create a snapshot of this Windows, and when the license is expired, we can go back to the first snapshot. Of course, it will delete what we have done during this 30-day period, but it really doesn't matter since we are using this Windows as a victim machine. So I'm not saving anything important in here, I just want to use it. So I suggest you create a snapshot of the Windows from here, and if you get a license expiration date, you can go back to this snapshot. So let's stop here, and within the next section we're going to see how to use Kali Linux, Linux commands, and Kali Linux overview in one section. Hi! We have now set up our hacking lab and we're ready to go. But there is one last thing that I wanted to talk to you about in terms of setup. Section 6 of this course is network pen testing. And for this section, we're going to need a piece of hardware that is called a USB Wi-Fi card. It's an extra piece of equipment and you need to get it, you need to buy it if only you want to try Wi-Fi hacking, Wi-Fi password cracking exercises on your computer. I will explain all these things in detail in lecture 29 and lecture 30. I will explain where to buy it, how to buy it, and what to look for when you try to get this equipment. And if you don't want to buy it, that's fine too. I will explain every part of network pen testing on screen and you will understand it completely. But if you want to follow along and try doing it yourself, you need to buy a USB Wi-Fi card. And the reason that I'm telling you this right now, some students may prefer to buy this beforehand so they will be ready when they get to the section 6. And other students may prefer to do this on time so they will deal with this problem when they go to the section 6. So if you want to get it now, just go to lecture 29 and 30 and see it for yourself. If you don't want to get it now, or if you don't want to get it all, I will explain what to do. And bear in mind that we're only going to use this equipment in section 6, section 7 and section 8. For the rest of the sections, we won't be needing this device. But some students may prefer to buy it anyway because they will be needing this equipment when they will be ethical hackers. And also, it only costs something like $10 or $20. So if you're now ready, we will continue with section 3, Kali Linux 101.
Hi! Now, since you have completed your hacking lab setup, now you're ready to go and learn about Kali Linux. Within the next section, we're going to do that, and after that, we're going to build up on our knowledge for ethical hacking tools.